thank you all for having me here. I'm really honored to be here. But I am honored to introduce our next speaker. Maia Parish is a sommelier, wine writer, wine educator, events producer, and the founder of the Wine Suite LLC. Ms. Parish holds a BA in journalism and communication. She also holds a WSET Level Two Certification and has sat for the WSET Level Three and the Certified Wine Scholar. Ms. Parish is the recipient of the Event of the Year in 2019 for the production of Night in Wakanda Gala. She was also the recipient of Sommelier of the Year 2024. Ms. Parish is the member of the Colorado chapter of La Dame de Escoffier and works with the James Beard Foundation. She is also a freelance writer, and you can see her work in the Somm Journal, Food and Wine Magazine, Vine Pair, Ebony, Wine Enthusiast, and 5280 Magazine. You can find all her social media at The Wine Mistress. Her speech, Wine is Not a Luxury, How Culture, Storytelling, and Smart Beverage Programs Keep Independent Restaurants Alive, will be covering a few different subjects: how you should make wine a relationship and not a flex, using culture as your differentiator, and designing beverage menus for access. Please give a warm welcome to Maia Parish.
Thank you, guys. Okay. I'll be reading from my phone. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out your day to be here. I do appreciate it. All right, let's get started. I have a confession to make. I love a gorgeous bottle of wine, the kind you open for milestones and/or special occasions. But today, I'm here to tell you something that might sound like a little hearsay in the wine room. Wine is not a luxury. Wine is infrastructure. Okay. It is a revenue system, a loyalty engine, and it's a cultural bridge. And in 2026, it might be one of the most practical tools independent restaurants have left if we stop treating it like a museum exhibit and start treating it like hospitality. Because the market is not doing us any favors right now, the passive growth era is over, and performance hinges on behavior and not conditions. Revenue enhances profitability through increased sales opportunities. Hospitality, let me go back. Hospitality, a well-curated wine selection elevates guest experiences, community. Local wine and small producers foster relationships, and they support our community. And through storytelling, narratives about wine create emotional communication with guests. So here's the talk. How do we build a beverage program that keeps the lights on and makes people feel like they belong in the room? I'm going to give you 3 moves. 1, first, make wine a relationship and not a flex. Use culture as your differentiator, and design for access because it also builds profit. Okay. Make wine a relationship. Let's talk about that for a second. If you've been in the hospitality era lately, you feel it. People are drinking differently, spending differently, and choosing differently. The Silicon Valley business just had the 2026 State of Wine, and the report lays out a clear performance gap is emerging. Top performers are reporting about an 8% sales growth, 11% operating income, while bottom performers saw a 10% sales decline and about a negative 10 or 11 operating margin. This is not a small gap. This is 2 different realities. And the dividing line isn't who has the best Cabernet, although that can be important, okay? It is who's building the relationships, who's using their channels like a loyalty engine. The report also points out that tasting rooms and wine clubs account for about over 50% of average winery sales, and in some regions, direct-to-consumers can be as high as around 70% of revenue. Translation for restaurants, the money is increasing in connection. So if wine is a connection, here are a list of practical shifts for restaurants. Stop building wine lists for wine people. And I really want to say that, okay? Okay. Build them for people who actually pay your rent. Your regulars, your neighborhood, the date night couple, the girls' night table, the solo diner who wants one perfect glass and peace from their family. Wine cannot feel like a pop quiz because when guests feel judged, they stop exploring. When they stop exploring, they stop ordering. And when they stop ordering, your check average drops and your service can feel it first. This report also has one hard line: hospitality and experience remain the bedrock, not the garnish, the bedrock. So the goal is not to educate people into behaving like sommeliers, although we're great. The goal is to make them feel safe by saying, I like crisp, I like sweet, I like red but not heavy, I'm celebrating, or I'm broke, but I want something good. Okay. This is a hospitality skill and not a wine skill. Okay, use culture as your differentiator. Now the second move is culture. Denver doesn't need another identical list of safe wine bottles. Please stop. Okay. Your guests can drink those anywhere. What they can't get anywhere is your point of view. Culture is not an add-on. It is a secret ingredient that turns beverage programs into a brand. Here's what I want to be very explicit. Culture includes women, BIPOC communities, I have to say this slow, the LGBTQAI+, all right, and even sober communities. Yes, sober communities. Not as a special don't make it as a special feature, but as a year-round truth to who we hire, who we spotlight, and the stories that we tell. Because wine historically has been gated by language, by class, by people who get seen as experts, a lot of people, especially Black and brown guests, queer guests, and women, have spent years walking into beautiful dining rooms and feeling like it was not built for them in mind. So here's what a culture-forward wine program actually looks like. A list that includes women winemakers, not as a token, but as anchors. A rotating spotlight on BIPOC producers and queer producers with staff stories that are not cringe or performative. Partnerships and events where communities aren't treated like a theme, but like a family. Non-alcoholic wines as a standard, y'all, on the menu, okay? You don't have to overcomplicate it. You don't need 3,000 SKUs or SKUs to gain clarity, but what you need is clarity. We literally call out this succession occasion that includes retain, focus, and simplify. This applies to restaurants too. So try this. Go back. Okay. Create story pillars on your list, maybe neighborhood classics. They can add comfort and value. Maybe culture and diaspora, BIPOC and global stories that match your cuisine and your guests. Celebration, sparkling, my favorite. Special pours, and yes, flex bottles for those who want them. Now your team isn't memorizing 40 grape facts. They're telling 3 kinds of stories. And when guests hear a story, they recognize about food, about heritage, about travel, and about identity. Wine stops being a luxury and becomes belonging. Okay, design for access because access is profit. And here's the third move. Let's talk about the scene in 2026. The consumer is pulling back. The direct-to-consumer wine data shows how sharp that pullback is. In 2026, direct-to-consumer wine shipping report says that we shipped more than about 230 million in 2025, but we saw a 15% drop in volume and a 6% decrease in value. And despite that, the average per bottle price still went up 11%. Go figure. Not all people are trading up. The report makes a more uncomfortable point. Lower-end buyers are purchasing less and dropping out of the channel altogether. That matters for restaurants because it means the middle guest, the guest who used to order a bottle without thinking, might only order a glass or skip wine entirely. Or they're choosing a cocktail or they just going home, upset. This isn't access, this is an actual strategy. This isn't access. Access is a strategy. Here are access levers to increase revenue and inclusion. Okay, own the By the Glass experience. Your By the Glass is your storefront, is where you can create conversation. Offer a Trust Me glass, one red, one white that your team can sell with confidence. Offer one cultural pour that maybe changes monthly and comes with a 15-second story. Consider half pours. Y'all, half bottles are great. They're your friends. For exploration, people may try more when the risk is lower. Make pricing feel intentional, not pushing. Guests can smell panic pricing. Instead, here are some tiers that we kind of give you guys a little incentive. $12 to $14 is the easy yes glass, okay? $16 to $24, special but same glass prices. Premium pour for the ballers, because we got a few out here in these streets. And if your costs are rising, say that in your language and in your service. Don't hide behind a list that feels like it was written for someone else. Train for belonging and not jargon. The winning move is not more information, it's more confidence. Your team needs permission to sell wine like humans, not like textbooks. Give them scripts like, if you like margaritas and this white hits that bright and citrusy vibe. If you want something that tastes clean, like a clean vacation, try this sparkling, and so on. That is access, and access sells. To close, wine is how we keep independent restaurants independent. Wine isn't a luxury because luxury implies it's optional, and independent restaurants don't have many optional things left. That's definitely true. The industry is a challenging cycle, and the passive growth era is over. One second, I lost my place. Okay. Okay. In correction, the winners don't act fancy, they act intentional. They build beverage programs that retain guests, focus on the story, and simplify the choice, and expand the circle of who feels welcome ordering wine in the first place. If we don't do that, if we treat wine like an infrastructure and culture, if we treat wine as an infrastructure and culture as a strategy, then wine becomes one of the strongest tools we have to protect what we care about. Independent restaurants, independent people, and a city where hospitality feels like community. Thank you guys very much, and I do appreciate being here.